Yo, what's going on, guys? KrispyFlakes here. Welcome to a new series where we are going to be taking a deep dive into the mind of delusional NBA fans. You guys know these fans, they're all over Twitter, they're all over social media, just really geeking up their team and just saying things that are extremely biased that just nobody believes except a specific biased fan base, right? So for this first episode, we are going to be interviewing an extremely delusional Phoenix Suns fan by the name of Brandon Condron. So he actually has a dedicated Phoenix Suns YouTube channel. He was on KJZZ Phoenix, which was actually like a local radio station talking about the Suns, in Phoenix and stuff like that. So yes, before we bring him in here, if you guys can drop a like on this video, if you guys want some more of the series, and let me know in the comment section below what other fan bases you want me to interview. So without further ado, I am going to bring him in, and here we go. All right, Brandon, we are officially live here. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so honored to be here. Big fan of your channel, man. I watch a bunch of your videos, and this is unreal, man. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, so you are a big Phoenix Suns fan. You have a YouTube channel, everything like that. So through the years, I mean, the team was 19-63 last season. Like, wouldn't you prefer to make a channel about like paint drying or something like that? Don't you think that would be a bit easier?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to, be probably the only one on YouTube talking about the Phoenix Suns, definitely coming up with video ideas. It's hard, man, because we have all these blowout losses and all these losing streaks. It's hard, man. Maybe I should start a channel about, painting.
Hey, well, I'm a Piston fan, so I mean, it's not much better out here for me. But how long have you been a Phoenix Suns fan for?
Well, first off, at least your Pistons actually made the playoffs. So there's that. I've been a Phoenix Suns fan and a basketball fan, I'd say ever since I can remember. But as far as an actual Phoenix Suns fan, really started when I was about 13 years old. I actually had moved here a couple of months prior to us signing Steve Nash. So I'd say about since I was 13, I'm going to be 30 in May. So for quite a bit of time now.
So back when there was like Steve Nash around, were you thinking every single season that team had a chance to win the championship? Or were you kind of
yeah.
like, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I was that hardcore fan that would, and I still do this a lot. I always rocking the Phoenix Suns clothes, tried to go to as many games as possible. And maybe on the exception of one series where I think we didn't make the playoffs. I think it was our first year with Shaq. We were basically legitimate contenders.
Yeah, it looks like your guys' last playoff appearance was 2010, so definitely a bit of a drought right here. But all right, so the first question I have for you, just to kind of set the tone, let me know, who are your top 5 shooting guards in order?
I have to be very biased here.
Yep.
And I have
you gotta say James Harden number 1. There's nothing around that. It's gotta be James Harden number 1.
Okay. So my top 5 is going to be Devin Booker. That's right. Over James Harden.
How do you possibly have him over James Harden? Like, what makes Devin Booker?
Because Devin Booker is he should have been an NBA All-Star last season. He should have been an NBA All-Star this season. His numbers are absolutely incredible. 26.6 points per game this season. Had a career high in assists. I know that James Harden's the MVP, but if I'm going to be a biased Phoenix Suns fan, Devin Booker's got to be number 1 on my list.
But his his defense, I could be wrong in this. I believe his defensive rating was like the worst it's been since he's been in the NBA. So I mean, at least James Harden, has, I don't want to say respectable on defense, but at least he looks to improve at that. Now Devin Booker, I'm kind of seeing a guy, he's only 22. Shouldn't he be like hungry to play defense? I'm like, you got like guys like LeBron James that are older now that might give up on that, but Devin Booker just doesn't really seem to be improving in that department. So, I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think even Devin Booker would agree with you.
They still have him over James Harden?
Yeah, I mean, I think Devin Booker is so cocky that he'd put himself over James Harden. But Devin Booker's defense is something that needs to improve. The entire Phoenix Suns defensive, it needs to improve. We're one of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league. But just real quick to follow up with your question, you definitely got to put Klay Thompson on there. I feel like because Klay Thompson is on that incredible Warriors team that he kind of gets forgotten about, especially since we're talking about defense now. He's one of the greatest defensive shooting guards, one of the best shooters of all time. Bradley Beal's got to be on that list. CJ McCollum, DeMar DeRozan. Can we show a little bit of love to D Wade too? Um,
Well,
Gary
I'm
Harris. I've always been a
surprised.
fan of Gary Harris.
I'm surprised you're not showing any love to this guy who is the same age as Devin Booker. Is led his team to the playoffs for 2 straight seasons, only 2 seasons in the NBA, and that is Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell's been absolutely incredible. I think he'd probably crack my top 10. Jaylen Brown, I think somebody that also gets forgotten about. Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion, is kind of like the Devin Booker for the Utah Jazz. He's that rising star. He's that franchise face.
So why is he able to
So,
take his team to the playoffs and Devin Booker is unable to do so?
oh man, where do I begin? How much time do you have? Because the
I got all
Phoenix
day.
Suns, yeah, the Phoenix Suns, man, the past 5, 6
Why,
years.
why,
I
why,
will
why,
say
why don't you
this.
give us the executive kind of version, just like the quick version? Because I am going to ask you more about the future of the franchise later.
Yeah.
So I guess just what makes you think that Devin Booker is much better, that's that much better than Donovan Mitchell if he's unable to do these things that Mitchell is doing? Do you feel like it's the roster, or do you feel like it comes down to those two individual players?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like the talent level is the same. They're both NBA All Stars. Well, they should be both NBA All Stars. They're both the franchise faces. But for the Phoenix Suns, man, it's the roster.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz are on a much elite level, way past the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have a bunch of no-name role players. As much as I love them, and I could talk about them for days, Devin Booker needs help. And if you guys really paid attention to the Phoenix Suns this year, Kelly Oubre Jr. was the talk of the town for a little
He
bit
was nice
because
after the All Star break. He was very nice after he had like 20 points or something per game, I believe it
yeah,
was.
yeah, he averaged 20 points per game because he actually was helping Devin Booker score. The guy is an absolute dog with the basketball. He hustles, he puts in effort. I've met him before. He's great with the fans, he's great with the media. Devin Booker needs help in Phoenix. And I don't know if you're going to ask me this, Crispy Flakes, but guess what? We don't have a point guard, so that doesn't help either.
You don't have a point guard. I will give you that. But I mean, Ricky Rubio isn't exactly like the cream of the crop either. So I mean, I will say, especially the fact that Ricky Rubio is such like a ball dominant guard and needs the ball in his hands. You can almost say he negates what Donovan Mitchell does personally, just because Donovan Mitchell is the same guy that needs the ball in his hands. So if anything, you can say a point guard like Ricky Rubio would hurt Donovan Mitchell. In the same case, where a point guard that has that same kind of skill set would hurt Devin Booker.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Maybe I'm a little weird with this one, but at least Donovan Mitchell has a point guard that can actually get him the ball. And I think that possibly might have made DeAndre Ayton a little bit better too if somebody could actually dish DeAndre Ayton the ball.
But
But I
isn't
think you're right about that.
isn't there a chance though that because I'm just looking at Devin Booker over the last few seasons and his lack of the lack of wins in the when it comes to the record and stuff like that. Is it possible that Devin Booker is just simply has that Kevin Love syndrome where he is on a really bad team and that's why he has inflated stats, but eventually he needs to decide if he just wants to request a trade and become a third option and really have a chance for a championship? Do you ever really feel that Devin Booker could lead a team to a championship? Because I mean, Kevin Love was putting up the numbers, but he had to go somewhere else and take a different role to really get there.
No, I mean, I hear you, and I've heard reports and talks about that before, but in my opinion, this is just me being a biased Phoenix Suns fan here. If the Suns had 30 wins this season, or if you put Devin Booker on a team that had 30 wins this season or more, Devin Booker's probably an all-star, making an all NBA team, in my opinion. So it just you have to kind of just pretend if the Phoenix Suns had a couple more wins and were a little bit better, I do feel Devin Booker would still be this good and not have the Kevin Love syndrome.
Okay. So let's move on to a little bit about DeAndre Ayton now. Of course, he was the first pick in the draft. Now, as a Suns fan, do you regret taking DeAndre Ayton over Luka Doncic or Trae Young? Do you wish you could go back and take one of those players instead?
No, I don't.
Not at all.
Now,
Not
maybe
even a
I'm
little bit.
delusional.
Not a little bit
No,
with Luka Doncic. Just no, DeAndre's good to go.
look, Luka Doncic, he's been great. Trae Young, especially after the All-Star break, you could argue after the All-Star break was better than Luka Doncic. Just
Yeah,
saying.
I'll give you that.
But and look, and people are forgetting about Jaren Jackson Jr. There's been a ton of other rookies that have played great this year. This rookie class is loaded. But let me tell you, Crispy Flakes, if the Phoenix Suns would have took Luka Doncic number one overall, the Phoenix Suns fan base would have erupted. DeAndre Ayton was in our backyard over at U of A. He also went to high school here, by the way. And you know what? He's a dominant big man. People talk about positionless basketball. They talk about the big man going away. I think DeAndre Ayton is bringing it back. He had a really incredible season that was outshined.
Yeah, I'm seeing about 16 points, 10 rebounds per game, roughly. Looks like pretty good defensively, too. Had about 1 steal, 1 block per game.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. To be honest, I do feel like his blocks per game should have been up. I feel like he can get better at that. Because, we were talking about Devin Booker's defense. DeAndre Ayton definitely needs to step up his defense as well. But he had the most double-doubles in Phoenix Suns franchise history by a rookie, broke a bunch of rookie records by the Suns. I think we made the right pick with DeAndre Ayton.
But wouldn't you agree? I mean, look at, the past 10, 15 years. Having a dominant big man is no longer the way to win championships. You just don't need it. I mean, it's all about the guard, the small forward. So in hindsight, you can almost say that DeAndre Ayton just taking a center like that, it's like, yeah, he'll put up the numbers. But I mean, a Luka Doncic or a Trae Young would have made much more sense. I mean, the team needs a point guard, so Trae Young would have fit that perfectly, and they could have just got like a basic guy like a JaVale McGee or somebody like that to play that center position, and they would have just been fine because they would have had the positions they needed to win, to at least build a championship team.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right, and I am kind of glad you are a Pistons fan because you guys have Andre Drummond, who I feel like never really gets talked about, but probably should be. And, you did ask the question before, do I ever envision, Trae Young or Luka Doncic on my team? Sometimes, but I do feel like we made the right move. And you could argue, because people forget that we did have Tyson Chandler,
right?
Who, serviceable center for a while now, or used to be anyways.
Yeah, a bit older now, but
I just feel like DeAndre Ayton is the center for the future. He's a building block on top of Kelly Oubre Jr., on top of Mikal Bridges with Devin Booker. I feel like we made the right choice.
Now, who do you feel will have the best career out of DeAndre, Luka, or Trae?
Man, I don't know, man. I really wish I could answer that because I feel like right now they're all going to have great careers. And as I said, people aren't talking about Jaren Jackson. There's tons of other rookies that could.
So you don't think for a fact that Luka or Trae will have a better career than DeAndre? Like, you think DeAndre could come off as the top player from this draft class? Is that kind of what you're saying? Is that why it's a tough one to answer? Or is it more you can't decide between Luka and Trae?
I maybe feel like DeAndre Ayton might have an advantage to possibly have a better career, especially since he is a center going up against some of the best centers in the NBA at such a young age. He could win a Defensive Player of the Year award. I can't see Trae Young or Luka Doncic doing that. I know it's not all about the awards and stuff. I don't know, man. That's a really great question, and I wish I had an answer for you.
All right, we're gonna move on to this draft class. So, kind of like 2 questions for you. First, would you rather have Zion Williamson or Ja Morant?
Okay. First off, I really wish we were recording this after the draft lottery.
Right.
So let's pretend that the Phoenix Suns do have the number 1 overall.
Yeah, that was actually going to be the follow-up question. What do you do if neither are available? So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start with your first question.
Okay.
I feel like you have to be absolutely crazy to pass up on Zion Williamson. Ja Morant could be very good down the road. He could be very good now. I mean, he had the first triple-double, I think, against Marquette in a very long time. The guy is an athletic freak. He could be really good down the road. And yeah, I know the Phoenix Suns need a point guard. I get it.
I think that's the only reason that Ja is being talked about, is all because that is what they need as a point guard. But you can almost argue too that I know Zion Williamson, out of all these guys, is going to be the best player. But I mean, Kelly Oubre, T.J. Warren, Josh Jackson, you guys kind of already have kind of like a surplus of forwards as is. So I mean, at some point, if you do get a guy like Zion, you have to look to get rid of one of those guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, if the Phoenix Suns don't get the number 1 pick, I've only mentioned this in one video prior to this interview, but if they don't get the number 1 pick, let's say we fall to 3, I say trade it because we don't need another building block. We don't need another young piece. We could use that as trade bait Now, as far as TJ Warren, if that's kind of who you were addressing, I feel like TJ Warren's future is a little bit cloudy, man, because he had one of the strangest injuries I've ever seen this whole year. And there's one little rumor from a source that said that he was healthy and decided not to come back.
Oh,
It's strange. This whole injury was strange. However, TJ Warren, he did improve his 3-point shot this year. He's a great scorer. If you
I like
put
him
him,
a lot. I like his contract. Like what, $10 million a season? I think it is. I think that's fantastic for what he is.
yeah, and as bad as the Phoenix Suns have been, some of their contracts have been really good. And TJ Warren, man, he is just such trade bait, especially because of that contract,
Right.
especially since he can score. So,
Yeah, I've heard rumors of potentially Drew Holiday being a player that the Suns are interested in. I feel like a package around T.J. Warren for Drew Holiday would be perfect because would kind of give him that combo guard to play alongside Devin Booker, help improve their defense. But that's just a rumor I just recently heard about.
No, it's definitely a fresh one. And Drew Holiday, man, my whole thing is we would have a quarterback, if you will.
Right.
We would have somebody that can get these guys the ball.
So why do you think this team, like, it doesn't really appear to be getting any better? If anything, it seems like they're regressing from their record last season. I think down like 2 wins. So like, what's happening with them, and where exactly do you see them in 2 to 3 years? Do you see them still in this rebuild, or do you see things getting a bit better?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. It's crazy. I've never seen this before. The Phoenix Suns, believe it or not, were more talented this year than we were last year, and we were worse this year. We put up the second worst record in franchise history. That is mind-blowing. It makes no sense. But believe it or not, man, you have to have faith if you're a Phoenix Suns fan. It's not, is it going to get better? You have to, man. Any sign of hope, like Kelly Oubre Jr., if we do get a point guard, DeAndre Ayton, you have to take all that hope and you have to imagine that we are going to get better. I do feel like with these building blocks that we are going to get better. We finally have some stability in our front office because James Jones is now the official general manager, which he wasn't for a long time. We hired Jeff Bauer, who I think used to be in your front office with the Pistons.
Yep.
So, we do have some stability. A lot of people love to hate on our owner, but you know what? The building blocks are there, man. So I'm really hoping we are sooner or later going to crack the NBA playoffs. But the Western Conference is so loaded, man. Look at the Sacramento Kings.
Right.
They were so close to the NBA playoffs, and they didn't make it.
So how many years until the Suns make the playoffs?
I hate saying this because I feel like I've said it so many times in my videos, and I've said it in comments and on Twitter and all that. I want to say 3 years, but I feel like I said that 3 years ago.
Yep.
So 3 years.
Okay. Next question. Do you still see promise in Dragon Bender? Because, as you know, he was drafted pretty dang. I think, was he the 4th overall pick, I believe?
Yeah, 4th overall pick, 2016.
Yeah, you guys passed on people, Buddy Hield, Jamal Murray, Sabonis, Siakam, to name a few. Do you still see promise with Dragon Bender, or are you ready to write him off as a bust?
Yeah, well, first off, real quick, I feel like this 2016 draft class is going to be good down the road, but it is one of the worst in recent memory.
Yeah.
I think the Phoenix Suns, I feel like they kind of answered this question for you, man. They actually declined his option. I think he's an unrestricted free agent next year. I just think it just didn't work out in Phoenix, man. He is an extremely talented player. He's a big, long player, kind of like a Giannis as far as the size anyways.
Okay.
But it just didn't work out in Phoenix, man. Something wasn't clicking. He did have a few games here and there where he would put up big numbers, but it was so inconsistent. Even in Summer League, man, I was at Summer League the past couple of years live, and he should have dominated Summer League, and he didn't. So I think they are ready to give up on it.
Do you think it's like a confidence issue? Because like you said, he has the body where you think he would be able to dominate. I mean, he in theory can shoot the three-pointer. What I guess is it just a confident thing? Is he just like not it, or?
It could be a confidence, and this really goes back to kind of something we were discussing earlier, man. We've had multiple head coaches the past few years, which also brings on, assistant coaches and new shooting coaches. So I feel like it could have been maybe all these changes really affected Bender. I kind of feel like I'm making an excuse for him, but it is a shooting thing. 'Cause I feel like Bender can shoot the three ball, especially in an NBA full of threes, you know.
Yep.
Again, he can put up the numbers. He can be talented, but you gotta kind of wonder if he was on a team with over 30 wins, would he be better? Would he still be, at the end of the bench, barely playing? You got to kind of think, like, what if he was on a different team? Would he be better?
I mean, you could almost make that argument, though, where it's like, if there's any team to have a chance on to put up the numbers, it would be a team like the Phoenix Suns, because their lackluster record. It's like you think the opportunity would be there. So if he can't put up the numbers on this team, I guess why would he be able to put them up on another team?
Yeah, and I agree, and I know it's just summer league, and that was kind of a bad example, but that's why I brought up summer league.
Yep.
He should have dominated in summer league, and he didn't.
Right. Okay. Next question we got for you is, what are some of the moves you see the Suns make in this offseason? Have it be via trade or free agency? Like, what's some of the things you really want to happen, or do you feel like you guys could get a big name free agent, or do you think it's going to be just kind of developing what you already have?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Phoenix Suns might be over this whole development thing. I feel like Josh Jackson's future is a little bit cloudy as well, as long as TJ Warren's future might be a little bit cloudy. Josh Jackson's another player that could have a very bright future, tends to put up big numbers. His future looks cloudy. Again, I will say this, if the Suns do not get the number 1 or 2 overall pick, I think it's traded. There's the Drew Holiday rumors. For a while, Lonzo Ball looked like he was coming to Phoenix.
Yeah,
I would be all for Lonzo Ball coming to Phoenix because, again, he's young, he's a building block. He would bring media attention to the Phoenix Suns, which we do not have. A lot of guys on our team, man, are probably not going to be here next season. Troy Daniels is one of the most underrated shooters in the game. He could easily go to a playoff contender. Bender's future, I think he's an unrestricted free agent, and we just talked about. So it's cloudy, man.
Okay, so let's say they get that 3rd or 4th pick. What type of trade value or trade package, best case scenario, do you think you would be able to put together, and what player would you want to go for with that? I guess how valuable do you think that would be in a trade?
Oh, I think it'd be extremely valuable because of I kind of hope this isn't really overshadowing my answer. A lot of teams are keeping these draft picks super close because there's like surprises, like Draymond Green was a 2nd round pick. Just all these players are hitting, like Donovan Mitchell. He was a late 1st round pick, and he's a future NBA All-Star. But I feel like if Phoenix Suns made the call and said, "Hey, this 3rd overall pick is available for trade. We're gonna throw in, I don't know, TJ Warren or Josh Jackson," I feel like teams would pick up, and I feel like there could be a deal done. What deal is that? I have no idea. I am proud to say that the Los Angeles Lakers are in a little bit of turmoil. So if they're willing to trade Lonzo Ball to us,
right?
The Utah Jazz could use a scorer, for TJ Warren. They could use him. And again, we have a lot of little pieces that could be trade bait, man. Like I'm looking at our roster right now, and just a lot of these guys could shine on other teams. And I feel like a lot of them could be dealt in trade.
Do you see yourself being able to get somebody like a Kemba Walker, or do you think a big name free agent like that would be interested in going to Phoenix?
As much as I would want Kemba Walker here, I don't know if he wants to basically walk into the same situation.
Fair enough.
I think, yeah, it's like he would be great with Devin Booker, and he would be a fan favorite here. He'd be an NBA All-Star, but like, would we be winning right away? Probably not.
Right. Okay, so that's all the big time questions I have. I do have 4 small questions. Just kind of give me the first answer that comes to your minds.
Go for it.
Okay, so first off, Steve Nash or Chris Paul?
Steve Nash.
Prime Amari Stoudemire or a prime Kevin Garnett?
Kevin Garnett.
Okay, fair enough. Would you rather have Devin Booker in 5 years on your team, or would you rather have a prime Reggie Miller?
Devin Booker. I'm
right.
sorry, Reggie. I love Reggie Miller, but I gotta go Devin.
And how many wins will the Suns have next season?
30.
30 wins next season. All right, so that's up about 11 from last year. All right. That's all the questions I have. If there's anything you want to say, any closing statements. If not, then
Yeah, try not to be repetitive here, but I definitely do believe the Phoenix Suns have a bright future. Again, I'll repeat this: Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre Jr., Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. We finally have stability in our front office. And also, Crispy, like I said, man, I'm a huge, huge fan of your videos. Honored to be on this interview. I think it went very well. If you guys want to subscribe to my channel for everything Phoenix Suns, subscribe. If I feel like it's Phoenix Suns newsworthy or if I just want to talk about it, that's what I do on my channel. So I encourage you guys to check me out.
Yeah, and a link to his channel will be in the description below. So yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed this first episode. If you want some more of these, drop a like on the video. And of course, let me know in the comment section below what other teams you want to make an interview for. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, guys.